Be me. Hallway queen turned office nobody. Run into old Target, now leading a safety startup for women. Rooftop talk breaks my ego, builds a plan. She says, stories are software. Help me ship ones that run. I trade clout for work, attention for care. Feminism stops being a slogan and becomes a screwdriver. The jar finally stops rattling and starts funding. Be me, 17. Queen of the hallway for reasons no guidance counselor could explain. Eyeliner sharp enough to cut fruit. Captain of things that require shouting in unison. Thought attention was the same as respect. Thought respect was the same as safety. Never examined why. We had a ritual. Sit at the shiny table near the vending machines. Rate outfits like it was the Olympics. Call it culture when it was just fear with lip gloss. Keep the jokes constant so the silence never asked questions. There was a girl, Nora. Big tote bag full of stapled pamphlets. Wore boots like she was marching somewhere important. Hair in a messy knot that looked like a thesis. Stickers on her water bottle about consent and pay gaps. Talked to teachers like they were people. Weird. She ran a lunch club. Brought in women who did things. Engineers, paramedics. A mechanic who could rebuild an engine and still make it home for dinner. Posters read, "You cannot be what you cannot see." We called it cringe because ambition in public is illegal at 17. One day, she set up a table. Cardboard sign. Period products are not luxury items. A donation jar. Some facts printed in thick font. My friends saw a target with a bullseye already drawn. Jess said, "Bet you cannot get her to stop talking for 1 minute." I laughed. Said, "Watch me." Walked over in heels that did not forgive mistakes. Leaned on the table like it owed me rent. Asked her, "Why do you make everything about women?" Smiled like a knife. Told her to chill. Said real equality is not shouting about it. Said girls like us do fine. Subtext. Because we are palatable when we perform. She looked at me. Not angry. Just tired. Said, "I make things about women because the world makes us about silence." My brain refused to download that sentence. I said, "Cute slogan." Picked up the jar. Jingled the coins. The sound felt powerful and hollow at the same time. We laughed when I walked back. I told myself she would forget. I told myself I did nothing wrong because I did not flip the table. I only rattled it. Time is a conveyor belt, even when you pretend to stand still. Tassels tossed in the air. The hallway emptied. The jokes lost their echo. People's lives started happening off camera. The world outside school did not care if I was homecoming anything. Rented a small apartment above a nail salon with a persistent lavender smell. Job in a marketing office where the coffee machine negotiated better than the managers. Learned that the loudest person in a room is often the most scared. Learned I had been very loud. A coworker named Wren invited me to a conference. Women building things theme. Said free snacks. Said I should network because I am good at talking. Fair point. I am fluent in small talk and apology. The conference had lanyards and words like empower on banners. Some talks felt like motivational magnets on a refrigerator. Then the keynote walked on stage. Black jumpsuit, simple earrings, eyes like a calm coastline after a storm. The room leaned toward her like a plant to sunlight. Her name flashed on the screen. Dr. Nora Salim, founder of a company that made safety tools you could carry in your pocket. Software that flagged predatory patterns in group chats. Hardware that turned a keychain into a lighthouse. My stomach did the elevator drop. Same first name, same posture. Like gravity was a suggestion. Could it be? Older, of course. Sharper. the messy knot now deliberate, voice steady like a metronome keeping time for the whole room. She told a story, not about success, about a bus ride, how the driver would not stop the bus when a man would not stop whispering terrible things, how the other passengers looked away because looking is expensive, how she did not want every girl to need a heroic mood just to get home. The room went quiet. She kept going, showed graphs, not just feelings, the reporting pipeline, community partnerships, schools piloting panic ring prototypes that ping campus security and a designated friend, an interface where yes is bright and no is not hidden behind menus. It was so practical, it felt revolutionary. My throat closed around something I had swallowed in high school and never chewed. After the applause, I hid behind a table of tote bags, tried to merge with a stack of zines about wage theft. Ren found me anyway. Said we are going to the small networking thing upstairs. Said the keynote might show. My stomach typed. Out the word consequences. The rooftop had fairy lights and a view pretending to be therapy. Nora was already there. People orbited politely. She answered questions without selling herself like a product. I hovered. Then I did what I always do. I moved toward the center when my chest panicked at the edge. Hi, I said. She turned. The air rearranged its molecules to listen. Up close, she looked exactly like the opposite of high school. And exactly the same. I think we went to the same school, I said. She waited, not impatient, just present. I said my name. I watched recognition move across her face like a cloud over the sun. Not shock. A weather pattern she had already forecast. I remember, she said. 3 words placed like stones across a river. No anger in them, but no exit either. My mouth prepared a monologue, sorries packaged in glossy plastic. I almost offered them like samples. She rescued me from myself. Do you want to walk for a minute? She asked. My legs said yes before my pride could vote. We walked the perimeter of a roof like it was a track around an old cafeteria. City humming like an appliance left on. I told her the truth, measured in small pieces. I said I was scared all the time and hid it in laughter. I said power felt like a coat I was not allowed to take off. I said I rattled her jar because I wanted to hear coins when I had none of my own. She listened like it mattered. Then she said, "You knew how to be admired. You never learned how to be in a room where admiration is not the point." I laughed once. The honest kind that sounds like a cough. I wanted absolution. She offered responsibility instead. "You do not owe me," she said. "You owe the next girl who has to ask for basic dignity like it is a favor." Felt my spine agree in secret. Asked her about her company because it was safer than talking about me. She lit up like someone flipped a switch. Showed me a prototype on her phone. An app that lets you map a safe walk home with friends in real time. A volunteer dispatch board for campus rides after midnight. A language guide for consent that teenagers would not laugh at. A policy kit schools could adopt in a week instead of a year. She asked what I do. I said marketing with the tone people use for seasonal allergies, she said. Then you speak interface, not just English. I blinked. She continued. Stories are software. They either run or they crash. Help me ship ones that run. Felt like an invitation and a dare. My chest remembered old competitions, but with different rules. She did not flirt. She did not condescend. She did not perform generosity for the cameras. She just handed me a card and said, "If you mean it, email me 3 ideas by next Friday." That night, I went home and sat on the rug with a glass of water like it was a ritual. Pulled out a notebook. Wrote the word "why" at the top. stared at it until it stared back. The next days were an unglamorous montage, reading reports about campus safety, calling a cousin who works late shifts to ask what feels unsafe and what feels like a rumor, drafting messages that did not promise freedom but did offer reliable stares, testing headlines aloud to see if they rolled off the tongue without breaking teeth, wrote 3 ideas, one for a campaign that centers friends who walk each other home, one for a school kit with a dignity checklist students could audit themselves, one for a quarterly zine made by teenagers, not adults, about boundaries and bystander moves. I hit send, palms sweating like a gym class I skipped. She replied with notes. Short, precise, clean. Kept my verbs, fixed my promises, asked if I could join their team for a pilot. A paid one. The salary was not an apology, just a number on a line without drama. My old friends sent texts with celebratory emojis when I posted about the new job. I told them it was cool. Did not tell them my hands shook the first time I drafted a post about consent. Did not tell them I practiced saying words like survivor without making my voice a stage. I met her team, a group chat of relentless women and a few men who did not need spotlights to be allies. They shipped fast. Not because hustle is holy, but because waiting is a tax paid by the vulnerable. First school visit. A gym with a squeaky floor and a microphone that made everyone sound like a haunted aunt. Teenagers stared with hunger, disguised as boredom. A boy in the back asked if this was about hating men. A girl in the front said quietly that she wanted to get home without a prayer circle. The room shifted. Nora nodded at me to take the next question. Heard my old voice start to rise. The one that jokes, so it does not feel. Swallowed it. Said, feminism is just refusing to accept fear as a normal tuition. The gym actually listened. After the talk, a girl came up. Small, fierce. Told us her bus driver ignores her when she asks to stop closer to her block. Said she gets off and runs. My chest went hot. Our team wrote down the route. Nora called a council member from the parking lot. I watched policy move because persistence dialed the number. Nights were long, but not the kind that leave you emptier. I wrote scripts for videos where boys call each other out gently and early. I learned how to say no like a door that still leads to a garden. I learned how to say yes like a contract between 2 happy people. Months rolled. The pilot worked. Not perfectly. Enough. One afternoon, Nora called me into a tiny conference room with a crooked plant. Looked at me over a spreadsheet. Said, "Do you want to lead the next rollout?" My lungs tried to leave my body, politely. I asked why me. Old reflex, she said. Because you are good at catching people before they fall into the holes you once dug. Felt like mercy and math at the same time. Leading meant meetings where the table was mostly men who loved the word liability. Learned to translate. Safety is expensive into lawsuits are more expensive. Learned to bring stories and numbers together like siblings who finally get along. A donor dinner happened. Those rooms with forks that look like riddles. A man in a perfect suit tried to explain our own product to Nora. She smiled like a scientist watching a toddler describe gravity. I jumped in with a case study. The table nodded. Later, she whispered thanks. I said I am learning which battles need a crowd. One evening, we spoke at our old school. The cafeteria looked smaller. My old table looked like a prop. There was a donation jar on Nora's new table. I stared at it. Coins do not jingle the same after you learn what they pay for. During the Q&A, a teacher I barely remembered asked if we ever feel hopeless. Nora answered, "Hope is a practice, not a personality." Then she looked at me. Your turn. I took a breath. Said, I used to think power meant never apologizing. Now I think it means apologizing with a plan. After the talk, a janitor told us the back door latch sticks, and girls hate it after late clubs. We put in a work order. Then we showed up with a drill and the right screws before the paperwork could nap. Feminism is sometimes a screwdriver and a calendar. Later we sat on the stairs where I used to perform indifference. The fluorescent lights hummed the song of public buildings. I told Nora about the jar rattling. The exact sound. Like a slot machine that paid out shame. She listened. Then she said, You do not get to rewrite it. You get to write after it. I nodded. Felt something unclench that had been gripping since the first time a boy told me I was prettier when I smiled. Realized I had built a life around not being abandoned. Realized I could build one around not abandoning anyone else. The rollout kept rolling. A bus company added a new stop after pressure and polite persistence. A campus changed its reporting form from a maze to a straight line. A late-night ride program got funding because a football coach told the board his daughter uses it. Allies are often people who realize their favorite person is a woman. My phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. An unknown number. A girl whisper crying. She had tapped the app's emergency button. I read the script we practiced. My voice was steady like I borrowed Nora's throat. Dispatcher connected. Friend pinged. Location shared. Afterward, the girl texted a thank you, made of 3 words. I got home. Stared at those words. They were small and enormous. Put my face in my hands and did not cry. Breathed. Like a person who knows what oxygen is for. Months later at our office holiday thing, cheap tinsel. Warm cider that tasted like compromise. Nora handed out small envelopes. Inside mine was a note. You turned attention into care. Signed with her initials like a stamp of approval and a dare to keep going. I asked her once why she gave me space instead of a speech the first night. She said, because control dressed up as contrition is still control. Silence can be a tool when wielded by someone who knows what they want it to build. We do not have a cinematic friendship. We have a schedule and a mission, and the occasional laugh that sounds like it survived something. Sometimes we get coffee and talk about books. Sometimes we argue about fonts. Sometimes we sit in the quiet after hard meetings and let our shoulders drop at the same time. I still mess up. I still talk too fast when I am nervous. I still want to be liked like a dog wants the door to open. But now, when I want to rattle a jar, I ask myself if the sound is for me or for the work. High school me would not recognize this life. She would ask where the spotlight went. She would not understand that steadiness is brighter. The last time we went back to the school, the donation jar was digital. A girl scanned a code and grinned. Said the app matched her with a safe walk buddy when her usual ride fell through. Then she told us she was going to start a club for girls who want to learn bike repair. I am tired of waiting for my brother to fix my chain, she said. We laughed the kind of laugh that adds a brick to a building. Walking out, I paused by the old vending machines, pressed my palm to the spot where the table used to be, listened for the old sound of coins, heard sneakers, heard keys, heard 100 small plans being made. I am not redeemed. I am employed by my better self. The work is a line I step onto every morning. If 17-year-old me asked what feminism is, I would say, a map and a flashlight, and the agreement that nobody gets left in the dark just because the batteries were cheaper that way. If she asked about power, I would say, it is not the jar, It is what you fund with what you put in it. If she asked about Nora, I would say, she is not my lesson. She is my colleague. The person who taught me that a quiet sentence can be a crowbar. Sometimes I still want the crowd to cheer. Sometimes the only applause is the sound of a door latch clicking all the way shut. The sound of safety arriving like a bus that finally stops where it should. It is enough. Be me now. Write campaigns that do not lie. Send emails that are doors, not mirrors. Learn to count a win by how many people do not have to think about fear that day. On the anniversary of the conference, I texted Nora a picture of a cracked sidewalk fixed after 3 months of emails. She sent back a period, one small dot, the end of a sentence and the start of the next. I used to think I needed to be adored. Now I want to be useful. Attention was the glow. Usefulness is the heat. We keep moving, not because we believe the world will thank us, but because girls should not have to rehearse survival on the way to algebra. And if some hallway queen is reading this on her phone between classes, hear me. Laughing at someone is not a shield. Building something is. The coins in the jar sound different when you understand their job. They sound like a plan. They sound like a bus that stops on time. They sound like a lock that works. They sound like a future where the joke is not at anyone's expense, including yours.